We are here at the Live Lounge at our FastMarkets Lithium Supply and Battery Raw Materials Conference to interview a range of impressive guests from across the supply chain. I'm Keisha Shreen, your host and guide through this dynamic world of lithium and batteries. As a business and financial author, keynote speaker, and sustainability and risk consultant, I've shared my insights on Bloomberg, CNBC, and CBS. And today, I am receiving some fantastic insights from none other than Phoebe Whatoff. She is the country director for Minviro, Australia. Before stepping into her current role, Phoebe served as a sustainability manager at Minviro for lithium, base metals, rare earth elements, and graphite commodities. Phoebe has published numerous academic articles and white papers on the raw material supply chain space, focusing specifically on the production of anode-grade graphite. In 2022, she was recognized as one of the top 25 ESG consultants of 2022. Phoebe, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, and what a fantastic background. First of all, I really want us to get a sense of what inspired you to action in this space. You know, we hear a lot of stories about ESG, about sustainability and the world and the earth. I want to know from you personally, what was behind your interest here?
Yeah, of course. So I've been, ever since I was a young child, loved being outside. I grew up on a farm. My parents were always throwing me outside to play. And, you know, when I went to university, I had the pleasure of studying geology. And that really secured my fascination in the earth as a whole. And then I went on and did a master's in looking at carbon sequestration. So not only about the earth, but how can we actually capture CO2 and in either natural ways or enhanced ways to make the world a better place. And from then, I never looked back, just continued, was so passionate about that journey that just continued into the sustainability space as a whole.
And so today you're running an entire office, and I want to know, what's that like? You said you were thrown out into playing in the outdoors as a child. You studied geology. You went on to study the impacts of carbon and carbon sequestration. How does that lead into you running this fantastic office that you're running now? What are some of the learning lessons that you've gotten that you took from those earlier points and can bring them to where you are now?
Yeah, good question. So there was a little bit of luck. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
There was a bit of luck, but there was an awful lot of hard work and dedication and just passion. So I joined Minviro, which was founded in 2019. I joined in 2020. There was 4 of us. And then we took it to 3 offices worldwide. And I got the pleasure of going to Australia and running the operations there. And being in Australia, the office is so exciting. I'm so fortunate with my team. Of course, it comes with challenges, maximizing operational efficiency and also driving for all those sustainability goals comes at a cost. And, you know, regulatory changes are always happening. Being able to keep up with that is hard. But passion, motivation, and just really enjoying being in this space keeps me going, to be honest.
And let's talk about your associations and your organizations. You're a member of the Women in Mining community. And I'd love to hear more about the objectives of the initiative, specifically where mining is going in the future. So we have the past, we have perceptions, and we have the actual trajectory. Talk to us about those things in the context of the work that you're doing.
Yeah, so I joined Women in Mining a couple of years ago because what it really strives for is diversity in the space. It's no secret in the past that it hasn't been very gender diverse, and Women in Mining really creates a space for the industry to be more diverse, to expand your industry network with people that may necessarily not be able to attend conferences, and really mentor each other, which I find really inspiring.
So I'd love to hear more about community in general. So you talk about diversity in this space and making it more diverse. Tell us about how you've aligned members of your community who can help you learn and drive things forward.
Yeah. How I see it is very much about collaboration. So everyone, no matter what job or industry you're in, you're probably going to go through some similar issue at some point in your working life. And what I really like about women in mining is that it allows you to discuss in a safe space those issues that you may be facing and collaborate together and talk through issues together and solve solutions together to help you grow in that space and then to carry those on and mentor someone else going forward.
Talk about some of the problems in that space. It seems as if that's something that you all really focus on, the issues, particularly issues pertaining to women. Share with us what they are.
Okay. I would say maybe in the context of a conference, because we're at one. Okay. It can be really intimidating as a woman, let alone a young woman, someone like me, coming to a conference, speaking to a lot of people who may not necessarily be women, and having the courage to go and speak to them and discuss about what you do. And especially where we work, sustainability a few years ago was not really a big topic, and now it's a massive topic, which is we're fortunate about. But having the courage to actually get up, go to a conference on your own, thousands of miles from your home, and go and speak to 20, 30, 50, 100 different people who have been in this space for decades is very intimidating. And being able to be mentored by women in this space who have done that, they've been through those experiences, was really inspiring for me and gives me the courage to want to give that to someone else.
So talk about those mentors, how they've inspired you from a leadership perspective. Are there certain characteristics that you embody and that you see in others that you say, those are the top areas, top leadership characteristics that I'd like to have or that I'd like to promote? What are those leadership traits that really stand out for you?
Respect is a big one for me. So, respecting your colleagues and being able to give them a platform to be creative and to innovate and to adapt is really important. And on the reverse, I find that, in a leadership role, if you are too much of a micromanager, it really closes in on that space and doesn't allow people to be those creative selves. So I would say those are the qualities that I really like as in a leadership role.
Mm-hmm. Have you come across leaders who don't embody those, and how do you deal with those people who don't embody that level of respect and giving their colleagues platforms, whether it's an event like a conference or whether it's in the workplace? How do you deal with that?
It's really easy to act on emotion, and I've learned that sometimes taking a deep breath, as vain as it may sound, and taking a step back and actually looking at that person and maybe trying to find some empathy about why they're potentially like that helps you to have a wider perspective and to also show you about what you don't want to be like. So that's how I kind of go about it at the moment.
So step back, have some empathy, and make a note to self of what we don't want to do.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So we were talking earlier about some of the challenges that women face, women in mining. I'd like to know about you and your career journey. Personally, what was the biggest, we'll call it a learning opportunity, challenge, learning opportunity for growth. Some people call it failure. What was the biggest moment for you where you got a chance to really see what it's like to not see something work out the way that you wanted it to in business, but you learned a tremendous amount from it? Tell us about that and talk us through it.
So many.
So many? Okay.
So many. I would say, I wouldn't say there's one specific example. What I would say is, when I joined this company and there was only 4 of us, you are continuously learning and you are continuously failing. And it could be with a client project that goes terribly, or you said you could do something and turns out it was 10 times more stressful than you thought it was going to be. There's been many of those. So I think the biggest growth aspects I found were embracing those, learning from those, and trying to overcome my fears and just putting myself out there, taking the opportunities that were presented. For example, I was found out yesterday about this live lounge and I jumped at the chance. I was like, yep, absolutely. I want to be there because I want to not only create more attention in the space that I work in, but also be an inspiration to others. And so I guess that's something that I've learned in my journey, is embracing what the opportunities are presented, no matter how scary they may seem, no matter how stressful they may seem when you didn't realize you were committing to it at the start. And knowing that you're going to get through it, it's never going to last. The pain's never going to last. And you're going to look back and be really proud of yourself.
So is that how you overcome the concern, the fear, the stress, just repeating to yourself, this is short term? Is that?
Yeah, this is short term. And I'm lucky to have an incredible team around me. So my team in the UK, the founder of the company, Rob, he's always an inspiration. My colleague, Lawrence, who's a very good friend of mine as well. They've always been there to support me. And even my team in Australia, they're super new, but they're there to support me. And my team, they're always telling me how proud they are. And that keeps you going. It really does keep you going.
So with that said, we talked about leadership. I want to hear about your thoughts on the best way to operate a company from a cultural standpoint. You've already told us, number one, let people know that you are proud. I see you, I'm excited for you, and that sort of thing that helps you flourish. Are there other traits, tenets that you hold close to your heart in terms of a great way to run a company to get fantastic performance results as well as to retain top talent?
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, telling people how proud you are and celebrating good work. But, that collaboration aspect, super important. That innovation aspect, allowing someone to run with the idea and really show where their vision is going. Transparency is massive, and honesty is massive to me. Having respectful, direct communication, if it's constructive or if it is positive, is super valuable of building those relationships on a foundation of trust and allowing you to grow together, because it's always going to be hard times, but being able to trust each other and having that direct communication is super important to get you through those hard times.
So we talked earlier about the leader that you want to be versus the leader that you don't want to be. We're going to turn this one on its head too. Would love to hear about an example where you were in a workplace or were exposed to a workplace where you saw a culture that you did not want to be a part of and that you, quite frankly, did not value. Talk about that. What was the character of that culture that just did not sit well?
I would probably say a character in the sense of who maybe shut down an idea very quickly, maybe even raises their voice or becomes very intimidating, depending on the tone of their voice, is something that, no matter how stressful the situation may be, is a characteristic that I do not want to ever take myself.
Yeah. Is there anything, Phoebe, about the work that you do, the people that you engage, that really keeps you up at night, that adds additional stress to a life that's already full? What would that be?
Right now, jet lag is keeping me up.
Okay, all right.
But no, so last year we were London-based only. Now we have an office in Shanghai, we have an office in Australia, and I do a lot of work for all three spaces. So a lot of late calls, a lot of time zones to manage there. So that's, to be honest, what would keep me up. It's not people don't keep me up because, as I said earlier, I trust my team and I'm proud of them.
So late calls, I see that, but also cultural differences, regulatory differences. I mean, what are some of the things that, aside from the time zones and literally being up late at night, early in the morning, what are some of the things that are different when you're working globally like that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's so true. That regulation space, it's different depending on if you're in a different country or even a different jurisdiction or a continent as a whole, right? So our office in China has a whole different landscape to what we potentially face in Australia. And then once again, our office in the UK is a very different regulatory landscape, which is, some would say, faster moving than where I'm based. And so we have customers worldwide in the US, in Asia, where I'm based in Australia, and in Europe. And it's being able to maintain the knowledge of what's changing the landscape, because they're seeing us as leaders. So we need to make sure we're staying on top of what's going on and being able to communicate it in general terms for the industry to understand, because not everyone's going to be a specialist. And so if there's in the space right now, because sustainability is so so popular to talk about and there's so much change going on, maintaining our knowledge and keeping up with what's going on there, and then being able to communicate that to all of our clients and our industry networks and so forth, is very hard work. So I would say that definitely is probably one of the things that may also cause some of the late nights and missed dinners.
So what does that education look like when you say sharing with them what's going on from a regulatory perspective, et cetera? I envision educating. I envision, enablement, thinking about sales enablement, that sort of thing. What does that look like? What are some key educational tools that are actually effective? What are some key enablement tools that really are impactful in terms of helping that audience to understand this is what's shifting, this is how it applies to you, this is how it applies to maybe a customer? What are some of those key educational tools?
Yeah, exactly. So hit the nail on the head there. Education is really what we're striving for. And we do this in multiple different ways. We write white papers. We have a great R&D team who is developing white papers. We then host webinars on the content to allow anyone worldwide. And we host it in different time zones to come and ask questions. We also partner with a lot of different industry associations like the Critical Minerals Association, or for me in Australia, it's with AMEC or AusIMM to do more webinars, presentations, conferences, and provide a more educational standpoint about how it's going to impact the industry and what they need to do to get that content out there.
And what are are you dividing this up or prioritizing it according to audience? So how would someone know that, the webinar is the right route to go with this audience, but the white papers that's the best route to go with this audience? How do you understand and prioritize which type of channel works for which type of audience?
That's a great question. I will ask my marketing team and get back to you.
Do you prefer something yourself? Do you prefer a type of tool?
I actually prefer all of it. So I like a white paper, follow up with a webinar, and then follow up potentially with a presentation at a larger audience. Because I think, having only one contact point is only going to hit a very small audience frame that may just know you because they follow you. But if you have at least 3 touch points for that specific industry, and everything we do is tailored. So we may write a white paper on what's happening with the EU battery passport. And that's going to really impact the battery manufacturers and car manufacturers of the world right now. But then we may write another paper on the environmental impacts of different lithium supply chains. And that's going to hit the raw material industry. And so we make sure having those 3 touch points, if it's a white paper, webinar, presentation, or if it's a blog post, maybe a presentation and then a white paper to follow, is still targeted for each one of those audiences. That's something we commonly do.
If you had a group of, say, 8-year-olds in front of you and you saw yourself at the age of 8 in that group, what would be massively important for you to tell that group, you included, group of people, children right in front of you, about the future, about their future, and about how they can support their future? What would be the messaging there?
I would have 3 points. Number 1, embrace your challenges and learn from them. It's important to learn from them. Number 2 would be never underestimate what you can achieve and the positive impact you can make. And number 3, just enjoy it. Enjoy the journey.
Who gave those to you?
I would probably say I'm very fortunate to have, a great support around me. My parents have always inspired me to just go for it. Just work hard, be determined, and just go for what you're passionate about. And then I joined a company where the founder had almost the exact same mentality, and so did my other colleagues. And now it's something that I pretty much live by every day.
So if you were to talk to someone who knew a lot about you, what we shared today, but they didn't know a couple of pieces, what we call fun facts about you, but that would really shed light on who you are, what would that fun fact be? That 1 or 2 fun facts, what would they be?
I guess one fun fact that people don't know about me is I have about 50 tattoos.
Okay, fun fact, all right.
Yeah, probably go for that one.
Okay, and what insight would that give to the person?
There's always a personal side of a person, and there's more of a business side, and you can have it all. There's a common misconception that, business Phoebe is Phoebe as a whole, and she just works all the time. That's not the case. Everyone has a whole other life that they embrace, and never underestimate them. Never underestimate what they've got.
Okay, and never. That's point number 2. Actually, never underestimate your achievements. So we'll take that for that as well. What a fantastic interview and information, Phoebe. From a leadership perspective, respect is the top characteristic there, and something that should be considered with leadership. And in terms of looking at the leaders that we don't want to emulate, or leadership qualities we don't want to emulate, stepping back and really understanding and making sure that we're not intimidating or shutting down great ideas that come from fantastic people. And also having empathy for others. That's so important. I'm so glad that you mentioned that. And in terms of the 3 things that you would tell your younger self as well as others, embrace and learn from your challenges. Never underestimate yourself and your achievements. And that came up a couple of times, so very important. And then just always make sure that you enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Such a pleasure having you, Phoebe. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, no problem. It's been a pleasure.
Great. And thank you to all of our Live Lounge listeners. Whether you're listening in person or catching up, don't forget to subscribe to catch up on all of our other episodes. You can find these on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Podbean, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your content. If you want to find out more about other events we run in this space, then just head over to the events section at FastMarkets.com. I'm Keisha Shreen. Thank you for joining.